everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Crowning Connections. Today we have a wonderful guest with us, and we cannot wait for her to share her story.
Thanks so much for joining us. Tonight we have got a very special guest. We have Miss Kevi. She has a story to share. We are going to let her introduce herself to you guys. So Kevi, on that note, could you introduce yourself? Tell us about your title and a little bit about you.
I'm Kevi Berger. I am a wife and a mother and a grandmother, happily married to my amazing husband, Eric, and we have 3 grown children and a grandson who just turned 9, and he is the light of my life. I got into pageantry at age 40 to deal with a little bit of some PTS that I was dealing with and with some social anxiety. I was actually crowned the very first time on my 40th birthday, so 13 years ago. My birthday was just August 11th, just almost 13 years exactly. I am very proud to currently represent the Continental Worldwide pageant system, where in just about a month or so ago, I was crowned as the Ms. Global Ambassador.
I just got goosebumps. That's amazing. That's a cool title, too.
Right?
So to get started when you're 40 and then win on your birthday, how incredible was that? And how much more special did that make that win for you?
My goodness, it was so crazy. There's always been some preconceived notions of what a beauty pageant is and what beauty pageant women are, what the titles represent. So I think that I was one of those ones that was uneducated. I can honestly say that it was a real eye-opener. But my girlfriend that I worked with had said, hey, I know you've shared with me, about your social anxieties, and she would do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdowns and, what are textures and sounds and sights and different things, and help me with giving speeches because I was executive director of a nonprofit organization. So really struggled with public speaking, and people would be like, oh, you speak so well. And I'm like, oh, I'm dying inside. She said, why don't you go ahead and enter this? I'm doing this pageant and it's seatbelt safety. And I said, oh, well, I am a 6-time car crash survivor. And she said, wait, what? And I said, well, it's one of those things where I am just very, very lucky. You would think that I would be unlucky because none of those crashes were my fault or caused by me, but I had lived through them. So I was a very strong advocate of seatbelt safety. So being crowned with a pageant, the America's Super Pageant, I was the Mrs. Montana. I competed, kind of plopped. But the one thing that I did do is I was able to really look at how everyone else was really struggling, whether it was their clothes, their body image, your tone of voice was too squeaky or too high, or you're too short or you're too tall, or whatever the case may be. The wonderful thing about it is that you actually got to come together and work together and be together. Getting that state title and getting crowned on my 40th birthday was just amazing. It was something that's so far out of my comfort zone that I thought, what the heck am I doing? And where do I go from here? And then I competed, went to nationals, and really got involved with the pageant and was volunteering or a contestant or MC or co-directing for well over a decade. It really made lifelong friendships. And especially when you think about, I was 40 years old, it's 13 years later, and tonight I'm hopping a plane to go to Las Vegas because my dear friend Dana Henry is Mrs. North Dakota competing for Mrs. America. I actually met her and her mom through that pageant system. We travel together and we root for each other and we support each other. My whole world is just morphed into this beautiful, amazing thing from one person trying to reach out and help me. It has made that memory all the more special.
That is amazing. I love that you share that because so often, I think you're right, people kind of get a preconceived notion of what a pageant is. I think that for people that aren't familiar, maybe it's, oh, well, you just go compete, you win or you lose, and then you come home and it's over. In your story and our story, it's so much different. These lifelong, you're going to see one of these friends that you made compete. It's funny there because I have a good friend that is competing in Vegas for Mrs. American. She's
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
Maria Bill. She was actually on one of our first episodes of Crowning Connections,
Mhm.
and she is the oldest there. She is 60.
My goodness,
So
that's amazing.
Mhm.
yeah, we've been following her story all week since she's been in Vegas. So if you happen to bump into her, you can tell her you were on Crowning Connections
Be like,
before
guess
you
what
have
I
to play it.
did?
She's amazing, but she's another one that I think a lot of people will just think, oh, well, they're just doing it for this reason or that. But there's so much more, and it really does build lifelong skills that we take into jobs, like you were saying, public speaking, interviewing. It's a whole nice little package.
Absolutely.
And with all of you have had more than a dozen state, national, international titles. Is there one that it really sticks out to you as being something really special about it? Or do
That's
you just love all of them equally?
I love loving. And so it sounds really, each title means something different. Each award means something different. I think for me, my 7 consecutive congeniality titles. So, although there was a little break for COVID, but I competed in 7 consecutive pageants, 6 different systems. And one of the systems I went back a second time. I won the congeniality titles, and I don't even like to say that I won them because I didn't do anything but be myself. So for me, I think that's the most impactful title or award that I've ever won, other than Denise White Award at the Global Beauty Awards. But I think the congeniality title really, it's you go to the pageants and you spend this time, whether it's a few days or a week, with all these different contestants. And we all have these stories and we all have things that we have gone through and things that we've lived through and things that we've had to overcome. And yet, these women spend time with you and they see something that maybe you don't see in yourself. Like, I don't see myself as a public speaker. I don't see myself as doing other than being me. And that's really what my platform is too, is it's just, being the best me I can be. And so I live that every day, whether it's at work, whether it's as a mother, a wife, a grandmother. I think those are the most meaningful for me because it's somebody seeing something within you that maybe you haven't seen yourself. And it just makes you realize that we're having an impact on every single person that we're interacting with every single day. And we might not know what that impact is. We might not know what the good Lord put that person
Mhm.
in our path for. We might not even know what they need or maybe what we need at that moment, but we are together in that moment and somehow we had an impact. And so for me, I think those are the most important or impactful titles that I've ever held.
You're so right about that. I won a congeniality title once before, and it was as special to me as the actual title was
Mhm.
because as we were talking earlier, it's voted on by your peers, those
Mhm.
that see you
Yeah.
at your worst and see you at your best, and they still love you, and
Yeah.
they still feel like, hey, she's the one that deserves this honor. So it's incredible. And I think, and congratulations on that. Wow,
Mhm.
7 consecutive. That is amazing. I don't know that I've ever met anyone with that many. So I feel super lucky to know you, Kevi.
Well, thank you.
Your community service record is remarkable. And that is something I think a lot of pageant women, girls, even younger now, and I really personally love that so many systems are having their younger contestants get involved in getting out and doing things in their community. I am super involved with our veterans and ocular melanoma. You've got so many causes that you work for and advocate for, and I'm just wondering, is there one in particular or a couple that are really special to you that really inspire you to want to get out and make that difference?
Yeah, I think because I have been in so many car crashes, I truly believe that I have been saved by my seatbelt. And so becoming a child passenger safety technician was very important to me. And when my job opportunity gave me the ability to go and get actually trained, it was kind of a delight, but it was very challenging. I'm left-handed, so there
Mhm.
are no left-handed trainers for child passenger safety technicians. So just having to overcome trying to figure out when somebody's teaching you how to do something right-handed and you're left-handed was very interesting. A good knee somewhere or an elbow holding something down tends to work really well. So being able to be in a place in my life where when I had my son and I had a special needs child, I was in abject poverty and I was trying to raise this special needs child on my own. There was a dear friend that gave me a car seat and helped me install a car seat. Learning back, like, who helped me with a hand up and being able to kind of then go full circle to not only purchase car seats and donate them, but also professionally install them and help parents to learn about them or help a child do their testing to make sure that it's the right seat and it's installed correctly and stuff like that, and making sure that I can keep one more person safe. That's very important to me. And then also educating on tattoos as scar art. I was a survivor of childhood sexual and physical abuse for several years, and I ended up living in foster care. And one thing I was left with was not only physical scars, but a lot of emotional scars, which left me with the PTS. And so I had to find a way to deal with them. And I just came across an article one time that said, well, you can make something beautiful out of something ugly. And I thought, well, I'm not an artist. What do I do? And so I started learning more about tattoos, and I have several tattoos now. And I think I have 10 now. Might have been 11 because I just got one yesterday, but 8 of them actually cover scars. And so if we look at like my arm, I have several that cover different scars from that abuse. But the beautiful thing is though, in fact, the gal that I'm going to see, Miss Dana, we actually travel together. And one of our things is we get a new tattoo every time we travel together. So the airplane represents, traveling with my sash, my pageant sisters. And then we each have an S in a different way, shape, or form. And it's for sash sister, for super sisters, because we met at the America's Super Pageant. We love dogs. So one year we got a little dog on our ankle. We got crown. We had this little crown one time. Kind of sort of see it over there and stuff like that. And so we have a matching one behind our ear and different things like that. And so we pick something that's very meaningful to our group. And then when we travel together as pageant sisters, but as friends, as supporters, and I educate everybody that I come into. And I think one of the greatest stories was there was a very beautiful lady who had a kind of a negative opinion about tattoos and did not want to sit by me. And she said, no, that's not Christian. That's not something I'm okay with. I don't want to be by you. And I just looked at her and my eyes teared up a little bit. And I said, would you allow me to just take 3 minutes to tell you my story? And so I told her about the tattoos and the scars and why tattoos were so important to me. Is these scars, when you look down at them, they are such a trigger and they bring up all this horde of old memories. So even if you're dealing with the PTS, even if you are dealing with the emotionality, even if you have grown up and you should be over it, you look down on these scars and they're so triggering. And so I said, so do you know this big tattoo I have on my leg? And she's like, it's huge. And I was like, I know. I said, can I tell you where it comes from? And she said, okay. So I said, when I was young, I had a special needs child and I had no money. All I could do was save up my extra monies, and I bought these 2 pieces of remnants of material and some silk banding and some thread. Before my child was born, I hand sewed him a baby blanket. The house we were living in when he was about 2 years old caught on fire and burned. And I was able to save myself, my dog, and my son. I grabbed what I could and I left the house. Firemen came out, put the fire out. It was fine. But the next day I went in and there was so much that had been burnt and was wet and was not salvageable. But this little tiny piece of this blanket. And on this blanket, it had soot and it had watermarks and it had everything. And so it had a little teddy bear holding one balloon. which is kind of funny because the whole balloon there were like 5 or 6 balloons on it. I can't tell you how many now. And I said, and I grabbed this one little piece and I said, this is all I've got left of what I made my baby when I had nothing. And I said, so I took that, and a friend of mine actually put it on my leg and put it over top of the scar where, as a youngster, I had been pushed into a wood stove and it had burnt the entire side of my leg. And I had a huge scar. So I pushed that up over there, put it over top of that scar. And now every time I look at it, it's a teddy bear holding a balloon with my son's initials, JD. And she looked at me and she said, I was abused when I was young. I'm so sorry. And we talked for the next 45 minutes. So tattoos as scar art are not just a way to delve into our emotionality. It's all a way to connect with others and to share stories. And had she not said something about my tattoos, then I wouldn't have shared my story. And then she asked me about my other tattoos and what did they mean and that type of thing. But had I not shared that story with her, we would have never bonded. We would have never talked. And come to find out, she had never told anybody about her abuse. And I was the very first person that she could share that story with. And I will carry that with me forever. And so when I look at my body and my tattoos now and know that something beautiful and amazing, even one time, came out of something that I could have shared that was so deep and so emotional for me, was just amazing.
That's just such a testament to your strength, Kevi. And wow, we hear that saying, everything happens for a reason, but you just gave us a real life version of that. Somebody that doesn't want to sit next to you because you have tattoos, and then you choose to explain those tattoos to her, and it ends up touching her. Who knows how many years she had been keeping that in and had no one that she felt like she could confide in. And that turns out to be you. So talk about, you being in the right place at the right time, and the same for her. I fully believe God puts us right where we need to be,
Yeah,
right when we need to be there. And
absolutely.
I think that is wow, that is beautiful. And I cannot thank you enough for sharing, because, that's one of our reasons for doing this podcast, is just to get our viewers' stories out there,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know. You never know who's in the same shape as this friend that, well, she's now your friend,
Yeah.
that didn't want to talk to you at first. And then, you changed her life. You gave her that opportunity to open up and share this horrific thing that had happened to her. And together you can both, be stronger from that. So I commend you. That is a beautiful story. And do you feel like with pageants, have you ever personally received any, what would be a good word, I guess, feedback about, oh, you should cover them up, don't have your tattoos showing? Have you encountered that?
I have, and I just said that's not an option for me. Is if I have to cover a piece of myself, then it's like I'm not good enough for you. And if I am not good enough for you, that's okay, but this pageant system is not for me. And so it's one of the first questions that I will either try to look up or ask, is our tattoos allowed? And will we be graded down for them? And I think some of that is a hard question to ask, because you really want to have judges that are open-minded, but at the same token, there's some of us that are a little older and we don't understand, or maybe we weren't raised a certain way, or we didn't know things. I mean, I grew up using a typewriter. It doesn't mean I don't like the computer. It's just the computer sure irritates me, whereas the typer, I could just pull out the letter and put the new one in and boom, we were good to go. So I think that I just try to do my due diligence and really say, like, what is important for me? Is it about the friendships? Is it about the title? Is it about, I'm 53, for gosh sakes. I am not a size 2. I am not 100 pounds. I am not, 5'11". I am from Montana. I am a grandmother. I work really hard, I play really hard, but I'm not your typical pageant person. But I think there are so many pageants these days that are really embracing all ages and all generations. And I love how we're starting to really be more accepting, different looks and different styles. And it used to be that tattoos and short hair, you weren't going to win anything. And now here I am, a global ambassador for Continental Worldwide. And I'm like, wow, you know what? I can promote this system. This system is amazing, and it has so many amazing, beautiful, talented women that are representing. And it's just, you have to find what's in your heart and find a system that meets, what you think and what you believe.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of our guests a couple of weeks ago was discussing that. They were saying that, you do need to not just go and jump into a pageant, you need to understand, what their expectations are, because not every system is for every woman, and not every woman is for every system. Doesn't make either bad, it just makes us different, and that's okay.
Yes.
But yeah, I think I think that's great. I can tell you the All-American system, which Lindy and I are both lifetime queens for now. They are accepting of tattoos, and I have a tattoo and I love it, and I don't cover mine. I am unapologetically me, and I think that that's important for all of us. We need to be able to, be who we are and what we feel, and we
Hmm.
don't need to, or for me personally, like you were saying, if I'm not what you're looking for with your system, that's okay. But I need to find one that embraces me for who I am and, what I have to offer. It's I'm 54, so we're very close in age. And so I get it. I get it. And like you, when I got into competing as a Ms., the MS or the Mrs., and it's a whole different ball game from when I was younger, and I was not prepared. Let me tell you, I was not. But I learned, and I wouldn't change anything about that journey because I met so many incredible directors, coaches, sister queens, friends along the way. And that
Mhm.
is truly one of the things I cherish the most about pageantry in general. Um,
Absolutely.
Do you have do you have future plans? Is there something that's on the horizon for Kevi down the road that you're looking at, or?
Oh, I haven't even thought that far. I was just crowned with the global ambassador title, and I will hold and that title and represent Continental Worldwide until August of next year. And so it kind of depends. Like our group of amazing ladies, we tend to find a pageant and do a pageant together and support each other. And when we do separate pageants, like Dana and her mom, they came and watched Continental Worldwide and were there and cheered me on. And now her mom and I will be going to Vegas and we'll cheer her on. And so it just kind of depends. The future is wide open, and I'm just honored to represent Continental Worldwide at this moment. And, we'll take one step at a time and see what comes next.
I just, I love that. I love that. And as someone that has won countless congeniality awards in pageantry, how important would you tell our listeners kindness is, both in pageants and generally in life?
I just think authenticity is so very important. You know, there's so many people out there doing amazing, great works every single day, and they may not be acknowledged. They may not get a title or an award or anything, but I truly believe that those around you know and see who you are and what you are. And I think that we all owe it to ourselves that we only have one life and we just need to live it to the best we can and to be our true, authentic self. And if you do that and treat others how you want to be treated, then you will truly have the most amazing life in the world. And I think that's the takeaway for me every single day is just be the best you can be.
right back to that platform.
Yep.
I love that. I love it. And it's so true. In the world we're in today, if everybody would just show a little kindness, we would be much happier, we would be much better off, and we would make this world a much, much better place. I I
Absolutely.
I am ecstatic to have had you here on Crowning Connections tonight, Kevi. I cannot thank you enough for joining in. And is there any tidbit that you would leave for our listeners? Any suggestions or any life advice that Kevi has learned, especially since getting into pageants?
I would say don't be afraid. We're afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid of people that we don't know. We're afraid of things that we don't know. So sometimes find a buddy, grab their hand, and make the jump together, because nobody really goes through this world 100% on their own. And if you're too scared or too worried or too anxious, there's always somebody there that can hold your hand, that can help you. So don't be afraid to ask and just take that jump.
Great advice. And if we don't try, we're never going to know. And then you just wonder, hey, what could have been, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, that I love that. Well, please give your friend in Vegas the best wishes for us and best of luck to her as she competes at competitions tomorrow, right?
It's on, so I'm seeing Mrs. America, so it'll be on Wednesday. Prelims, I think, are at 1 and finals at 5.
Okay. And I think my friend Maria, she competes tomorrow for Mrs. American.
Yep.
So I'm super excited. So if you get any tidbits, you fill us in on that. And
Okay.
your friend, we would love to have her on, share that experience with us, because again, we did this podcast to make these connections with people that we would otherwise never know and never know their stories and be able to share those stories. So we thank you.
Absolutely.
We thank you so much for coming on to Crowning Connections. We hope you'll come back again in the future and
Of
share some
course.
updates as you go along with this brand new title. We're excited to see what you do. So thank you again, Kevi,
Thank
for being
you.
here. And folks, thank you so much for joining in again for this special edition of Crowning Connections. We hope that you will join us next week when we're back. Also, please like, share, and spread the news about this podcast. Tell your friends, get everyone involved, because we're trying to make a big difference here and share your stories, not just the stories of Lindy and I. So on that note, we will see you next week. And until then, be blessed.